Star Trek has never gone easy on religion, but now the series is taking things up a notch. For 58 years, Star Trek has had some tough takes on religion, and it just unveiled its harshest take yet. The topic of religion in the Star Trek universe is touchy. Religion has been criticized many times in the various Star Trek shows and movies, with more balanced portrayals on occasion, but in Star Trek-29, the franchise doubles down on its harsh view of organized religion. Star Trek-29 was written by Jackson Lansing and Colin Kelly and drawn by Tess Fowler. Sisko, in a pocket universe created by the Bajoran prophets, receives a vision of his son Jake, who was seemingly killed when Lore destroyed the multiverse. The vision criticizes Sisko for implementing a caste system on Bajor, charging that he has essentially taken away their freedom. Sisko tells the Jake vision that religion is a reduction of options towards a singular ecclesiastical goal. The vision of Jake is taken aback by this, calling it harsh, even for Sisko. The Jake vision is right. Ben's take on religion is brutal, but also emblematic of the Star Trek franchise's relationship with organized religion as a whole. Star Trek creator Gene Roddenberry was raised Baptist, but embraced secular humanism later in life, and these ideals are baked into the franchise's DNA. Never once in the 58-year history of Star Trek has a character professed on screen to adhere to one of Earth's many religious traditions. Religion and spirituality are left to the other races of the galaxy, whereas humanity seems to have moved beyond these concepts. Star Trek's ideals have at times put it at odds with traditional, organized religion, and one of its most scathing critiques came in Star Trek: The Next Generation's third season. Star Trek's ideals have at times put it at odds with traditional, organized religion, and one of its most scathing critiques came in Star Trek: The Next Generation's third season. In the episode, Who Watches the Watchers, a race of pre-industrial Vulcans discover a team of Federation scientists have been monitoring their planet. They came to view the Federation personnel, including Captain Picard, as gods. With the Prime Directive clearly violated, Picard had to convince the people he was not divine. The episode ended with the Federation withdrawing from that sector. Religion had been mentioned offhandedly in other Star Trek episodes and movies, but Who Watches the Watchers took the franchise's criticisms of it to a whole other level. Other episodes throughout The Next Generation's run criticize religion and spirituality as well, including the fourth season episode Devil's Due. A con woman used technology and sleight of hand to trick a population into believing she was the devil as a means of extorting money and resources. The con, named Ardra, maintained she was the devil, but Picard would have none of it and exposed her ruse. Star Trek: Deep Space Nine took a much different and arguably better stance on religion. Instead, Deep Space Nine acknowledged that religion is not a black and white issue, and there are plenty of shades of gray. For the first time, Star Trek did not outright condemn religion. Instead, Deep Space Nine acknowledged that religion is not a black and white issue, and there are plenty of shades of gray. Many of Deep Space Nine's Bajoran's mainstays were good and honest people who incorporated their faith into their daily lives. To be sure, there were bad apples within the faith, most notably Kai Wynn, who became the planet's spiritual leader, only to shun the prophets in favor of the Pa-wraiths. Yet Kai Wynn was an outlier among the Bajorans. For over half a century, Star Trek has been the thinking person's Sky-Fi, a franchise where phasers and warp drives come standard, but it's philosophy, ethics, and the human condition that drive the narrative engine. Among its most persistent themes has been its often skeptical approach to organized religion. From the earliest episodes of the original series to the more recent Discovery and Strange New Worlds, Star Trek has never fully embraced religion in the traditional sense. Yet, something is shifting in the cosmos. The latest iterations of the franchise are no longer just brushing up against belief, they're grappling with it in ways that feel deeper, more complex, and at times, uncomfortably real. A long history of questioning faith. Gene Roddenberry, the franchise's creator, was a humanist with a strong aversion to dogma. Star Trek, the original series TOS, often portrayed godlike entities, like the mischievous Q predecessors Trellin or the all-powerful Gary Mitchell, as flawed, even dangerous. In the TOS episode, Who Mourns for Adonai, the crew encounters Apollo himself, only to reject the idea of worship and assert humanity's autonomy. religion was frequently framed as a relic of a less enlightened time. This thread continued into the Next Generation TNG, where characters like Captain Picard and Commander Data approached belief with logical skepticism. Episodes such as Who Watches the Watchers depicted religious faith as a misunderstanding of science, a primitive misreading of advanced technology. The Federation's implicit secularism became a mirror for the show's utopian ideals, a future where belief in humanity triumphs over belief in gods. The new Trek, a more nuanced lens, but times and audiences change. The Star Trek universe of the 2020s seems less interested in dismantling religion and more intrigued by exploring its intricacies. Star Trek Discovery introduced the Kelpian Baul mythology and featured spiritual undertones in the stories of the Trill, the Red Angel, and the mysterious, seemingly transcendent sphere Data. Meanwhile, Star Trek Picard delved into existential dread, synthetic resurrection, and the question of what constitutes a soul. More recently, Strange New Worlds has struck a delicate balance, portraying spiritual traditions among alien cultures not as quaint curiosities, but as meaningful systems that influence characters' identities and choices. In the episode Lift Us Where Suffering Cannot Reach, the moral horror isn't faith itself, but the systems that weaponize it. There's no smirking Starfleet officer to set the natives straight. Instead, there's quiet reckoning. Faith, doubt, and the Federation. The Federation has always stood as a kind of secular ideal, a society guided by reason, science, and diplomacy. But what happens when those ideals meet the unknowable? In episodes like Perpetual Infinity or The Elysian Kingdom, the line between myth and meaning becomes blurred. Even Spock, the poster child for rationalism, is now portrayed with more spiritual depth, his Vulcan heritage no longer reduced to just logic, but tied to ritual, emotion, and legacy. One of the most significant recent shifts comes not from portraying belief as something to be explained away, but as something fundamentally human or humanoid. This isn't a new idea. Deep Space Nine, perhaps the most theologically rich of the older series, built an entire arc around Bajoran religion and the prophets. But what's new is the way modern Star Trek allows belief to coexist with Starfleet's values, even when it causes tension. Take Captain Michael Burnham. Her leadership is steeped not just in protocol, but in personal conviction, sacrifice, and yes, faith. Not in a deity, but in the greater good, in the potential of others. Her journey often echoes the path of a spiritual seeker, questioning, doubting, yet ultimately affirming a deeper truth. From alien gods to inner belief, perhaps the most profound evolution is Star Trek's turn inward. It no longer limits spirituality to exotic alien customs or omnipotent beings. Instead, it asks, what do you believe in and why? What happens when logic fails you, or when the universe refuses to make sense? In Star Trek Lower Decks, these questions are often played for laughs, but they still echo serious inquiries about meaning in a chaotic world. Meanwhile, Strange New Worlds pushes the envelope further, challenging the Prime Directive not just on technological lines, but on cultural and spiritual ones. The Federation can't simply impose its worldview. It must negotiate with others,